Hello, everyone, and welcome back to TaylorMade. TaylorMade is a weekly program where you, the fans, get to ask your questions and you receive your responses tailor-made by Hamline University head coach Chip Taylor. In this week's episode, the coach talks to us about last week's incredible comeback victory against Gustavus Adolphus. He tells us what he's expecting out of Carleton this week, and how excited is the coach about his beloved Philadelphia Eagles. Let's find out on TaylorMade. So let's welcome back Coach Taylor this week. Coach, let's first of all begin with your team updates for us.
The team is doing good. Just back to work, ready to roll for another 1 week season. So we're just excited about going down and playing Carleton.
You had a big victory this last weekend over Gustavus Adolphus, moves you to 3-0. Justice Spriggs leads a dramatic fourth quarter comeback for you. This guy seems unshakable for you.
Yeah, I believe we said it last week. He's the type of kid that's I know it's not basketball, but he's a gym rat. He's always in here. Him and Coach Zabrowski are always meeting and talking about plays that they like, plays they don't like. When should he get out of a play? When should he run the play? So for him to be as calm and as cool is not surprising. So I'm just glad he's doing well and look forward to watching him play the rest of the year.
It's kind of interesting to me because a lot of defensive coaches like a more running style offense for themselves, but you have quite a wide open offense here. Is this something you're embracing the passing game more, or is this just kind of a circumstance based upon the talent that you have?
It's a little bit of both. My background was, had some success offensively with throwing the football. But again, after being on a defense for a while, you understand that mindset of running the football makes you a tougher team. But it's a combination of what we have here at Hamline. So we had to adapt to what we have. We have a guy that can take control of the game with the ball in his hands, and we have our skill is decent. So we wanted to kind of feature that this year. You never know, next year it could be a different ball game. So.
Looking at the play of Zach Schwalbach and Johnny Nguyen, is that right? Am I saying those?
Johnny Nguyen.
Johnny Nguyen, okay. They both played really well for you on Saturday. The seniors really seem to be stepping up for you on this defense.
Yep, Zach Schwalbach and Johnny Nguyen have been with us for the last 4 years. They've played a lot of football here, and they're stepping up. The thing about those two guys is, when things, because it was a back and forth game, obviously, as but when things didn't seem like it was going in our favor, those were two guys that you could look at, and they were keeping the young guys up, keeping the offense going, keeping the defensive line going. It was interesting to watch those guys really mature on Saturday because it was a big game and a lot of emotions, but those two guys really played well and they kept it together on the sideline.
Well, you come away with a victory knowing the kind of perfectionist that you are. I'm sure there's some areas you would like to see some improvement in.
Oh yeah, there's always areas to improve, and like we talked about, I think after week one, it's always good to improve after wins. But we just got to continue to keep working on just the little things. Had a couple turnovers. One, was a tip ball interception. Wish you could have that back. But one was a busted coverage. Safety lost his eyes. Little things like that you can clean up. But again, it's always better to clean things up after you win a football game.
You head to Carleton for your first road game of the season. They're on their homecoming. I would assume you're expecting them to come kind of fired up.
Oh yeah. Coach Pagel does a great job down at Carleton. The reason why I say that, I'm not just saying it just to say it. Every year we've played them, it's always been a tough game. They always are ready to play. He prepares those guys well, it's going to be a tough game. And it's homecoming down there. It's going to be a tough football game. We have to come ready to play.
Zach Carleton is one of the toughest quarterbacks in the league to face, just because he can do many different things with the ball. What do you tell your defense about defending a player like that?
First of all, Zach Carleton is a really good football player. I remember him as a sophomore. They came up here and they beat us. And I just remember after the game, just shaking my head like, holy smokes, we got to play this guy for the next 3 years. What you have to do defensively, because, he is their leading rusher. You have to have 4 set of eyes on him at all times. And, he's capable of beating you with his arm as well. So, we have to do a good job with our eyes in the secondary and reading our keys. So, he's a dual threat guy. I'm a fan of Zach Carleton when we're not playing him, but this week we have to play him. So, hopefully we can do enough to contain him. We won't be able to stop him. You just got to be able to contain a kid like that.
The Knights have struggled to control the passing game this year. I would figure this is kind of playing right into your team's strength.
I guess sometimes it's a combination of a few things. You don't know what's going on down there with Carleton. All you can do is just kind of look at the numbers and the tape. But I'm sure Coach Pagel will have those guys straightened out. I guarantee that they'll be, they'll be ready to play. I don't know as far as, what they need to do or how they need to fix it. That's not my concern. We got to make sure we take care of the football, and when guys are open, we have if guys can get open and they're open, we have to make sure we connect.
Well, let's head to our fan questions this week. First of all, we have Chris from St. Paul. He says, do you see your game against Carleton moving to the high school to be of any disadvantage to either team?
Chris from St. Paul, how you doing? I can only speak for our team. We have a motto around here that, we'll play anybody, anytime, any place. It doesn't matter. So our guys are going into the mindset, if it was at Carleton's original stadium, great. If it was at Hamline Stadium, great. If it's at a high school, great. We just want to play, put a good product out on the field, and play hard for a whole 60 minutes.
Next up, we have Carl from St. Louis. He says, Coach, I am interested if you think it hurts recruiting that athletics gets such a second-class place on the Hamline website. Athletics is at the very bottom of the homepage. Do you think that hurts recruiting?
Carl from St. Louis, that is an interesting question. It kind of, as a football coach, you kind of get buried and hunkered down into your work. I have not noticed that. I think that's something that, we can definitely address. As far as hurting recruiting, no, I don't think it hurts recruiting because, we have some of the best recruiters, I think, in the country. And the reason why I say that, we have two guys that are former head coaches who've ran programs at Division III, so they know how to recruit to a place like Hamline. So I wouldn't necessarily say the website hurts us in recruiting because I like what we have here and what we have to sell here, our brand. But that is a good observation, and I'm glad you brought it up, and we'll definitely take a look at that.
Stan from Duluth would like to know, who are coaches that you admire in the way that they lead players?
Wow, that's a great question, Stan, from Duluth. I would say coaches that I admire, I'd have to, always have to start with my college coach, Todd Berry, who's the head of the AFCA now. He was a great leader, and he never had to yell. He could just look at players and, they knew they messed something up, or, and he can coach all positions too. So, I really took a liking to that. Guys that I do not know, but just kind of watch from afar. I've read all of Tony Dungy's books. I think he's very good. His leadership style. I think Mike Tomlin from the Pittsburgh Steelers, I've studied him from afar and watched how he leads his guys. And they all have different styles too. So I'd have to say those three guys, Todd Berry, Tony Dungy, and Mike Tomlin. I admire those guys' leadership styles and the way that they lead their players.
Next up, we have Jim from Minneapolis, hitting to the coach's favorite team. He says you have to be really excited about how your Philadelphia Eagles are doing.
Jim from Minneapolis. Yep, the Eagles are doing well. They're on the bye this week, and again, if you really want to break it down, it comes back to quarterback play. I think we talked about that earlier today. Justice Briggs is doing a great job, and you can see the success of our football team. Likewise, Carson Wentz is doing a great job in Philly, so I'm really excited to see how those guys continue to work through their season.
Next up, we have Sherry from St. Paul. She says, football is a culture where playing hurt is such an important part of being tough. What is the line that you express to your players between playing hurt and being smart not to endanger themselves?
Miss Sherry from St. Paul, that's a good question. Part of our core, beliefs and our philosophy here is being tough. You have to be tough to be a college football player. But there is a fine line. The one thing that we do here is I always talk to players about life after football. And when you're, I tell those guys, when you're my age, you want to be able to run around with your kids in the backyard and do those things. So you have to really, get in, see the trainers, and understand is the difference between, are you hurt or are you injured? And I think that's, it's a combination of being smart too. The trainers can, obviously communicate with you and tell you what you need to do, but deep down inside if something's not right. If something's not right, I don't want you to put yourself out there, and we don't want to put you out there, because at the end of the day, it's about coming to Hamline, playing 4 years of college football, and getting out of here healthy. So, we have to make sure we educate our players about, not endangering themselves. So that's a great question.
Our last question for this week comes from Sarah from St. Paul. She wants to know, what are the qualities that you think make a good leader?
Yep, definitely. That's a great question, Miss Sarah from St. Paul. I think, communication. You have to be able to communicate. And with communicating, it's not just you talking. You have to be able to be a good listener. I think that makes those are some of the qualities that makes a good leader. You have to have a good feel for your team or whoever you're leading. If it's a group at work, you have to have a good feel of everybody's temperament, because some people you can talk to certain ways. Some people you might just have to look at them a certain way. Some people you might have to yell or get on them a certain way to push them. So what motivates them? You have to be a great motivator. And you got to care about them. They're not going to follow you. In my opinion, again, if it's not just football, but if it's in the working world too, people aren't going to follow you. In my opinion, they're not going to follow you unless they know you care about them. So you got to genuinely find out about their families, what motivates them, what pushes them. Why are they working for you? Why are they playing football? You have to find those things out in order to lead them. So.
Excellent. Thanks for joining us this week, Coach.
All right. Thank you. See you next week.
We want to thank Coach Taylor for joining us on Tailor Made this week. If you have your own questions you'd like to ask the Hamline University coach, please send them to us at chiptaylor@minorleaguesportsreport.com. That's chiptaylor@minorleaguesportsreport.com. Please have your questions to us by Wednesday evening so we can give the coach a little time to review them before we record the show. I'm Rob Pannier, the managing editor of the Minor League Sports Report, and we'll see you next time.